Hi, I'm Ken Howard, and welcome to the Gay Therapy LA podcast. Today, I want to talk about gay male actors, writers, designers, and other creative professionals, celebrating success, managing challenges. So, as a psychotherapist and career coach in Los Angeles for over 28 years, who specializes in gay men, I'm the founder of GayTherapyLA.com, and it's just inevitable in Los Angeles that I would work with quite a few creative professionals, actors, television writers, screenwriters, models, singers, designers, and others, all in the course of a year. And this year has already been especially active with this, and it's been rewarding to see the success that my clients have evolved into. I find working with creative professionals rewarding because they are very often quite intelligent, creative, talented, amusing, sharp, and very brave people holding their own in a very competitive field. As accomplished as some of these clients are, or soon will be, they also have their vulnerabilities that they bring into session each week, and I create a safe place for you to do that. Certain themes emerge among multiple clients that I've been able to observe over the years. For these, I've developed a list of recommendations for enhancing the coping skills for the life of a creative professional. So the first of these is separating rejection from personal self-worth. I hear about the frustrations. An audition didn't lead to booking a job. A writing pitch meeting didn't go well. There was some other frustrating obstacle. But taking a step back from your most recent disappointment is essential. Who you are as a person, spouse, partner, sibling, child, parent, neighbor, etc. remains intact. You and your work are separate entities and are individual gifts to the world. In therapy or career coaching, I help clients maintain their self-esteem while doing battle with whoever your adversary of the day is. I hope you build resilience to the days or weeks or years' challenges. So by learning the skills of resilience, you can make the frequent disappointments and frustrations roll off your back like water off a duck. It's part of cognitive behavioral therapy to reframe situations from making you feel depressed or demotivated to taking a more positive approach that fuels you to keep going. The next is using assertive communication skills to negotiate. In sessions, I frequently role-play difficult conversations my clients are anticipating with various colleagues, a writing partner, an agent or manager, another actor, a director, a studio or network executive. There's a 6-step method that you can learn about assertive communication, but most people are not born with that or they're particularly adept at it at first, and it takes what therapists call psychoeducation, which is education with a psychological component to it. Once you master these skills, it makes all dealings with colleagues easier. It's mastering the art of negotiation and making agreements without resenting the other person, or them resenting you, or somebody being taken advantage of. The next one is about networking. It's a cliche in Hollywood, but it's really true that it's not what you know, it's who you know. Networking is as critical a skill as talent is. The best work you do is significantly undermined if no one ever sees it. In sessions, we evaluate your current networking skills and plan a strategy for gradually enhancing them in order to achieve the effect that you desire, which is usually doing better work, getting more gigs, and doing it all with less hassle. As a creative professional, you are your own small business. This is a self-employed field, usually. It's not like the old studio system where you had a weekly salary and you just did what you did. You were an actor, a writer, a designer. In today's entertainment world, really globally, you really work on in the U.S. a 1099 tax business. You're a self-employed, independent contractor professional, and your product is the brainchild of your creative mind that you sell. Your services being an actor with your body and your voice, or your services as a writer, where you're delivering a script or an outline or a polish, and that's the product that by contract you are paid to do. But like other small business owners, success often depends on having a sound, self-marketing plan, and it's carried out realistically and consistently. Most creative professionals aren't naturally good at this, the accounting and, some of the more mundane things about running a business, and yet that's essential. So that's where the value of coaching comes in. To be a successful creative professional, you have to attend to what I call the 2 C's, balancing the creative, all that you do with your imagination and the skills of your creative mind, with the commercial, the ability to make a living consistently over and over and over again, sometimes for many, many years, even decades. And for gay male creative professionals, networking is kind of built in as part of the gay community. There's the concept of the lavender mafia, rightly or wrongly, in Hollywood, that gay men either stick together in a sense of community or they compete with one another. Oh, that bitch, Either way, the extra layer of being part of the same subpopulation of gay men is there, and you want to use that to your advantage. The next one is tapping your creative energies and self-validating. Despite all the, let's face it, crap that creative professionals go through in a tough business, I always maintain an admittedly somewhat romanticized view of the arts. I stand by that because to see the joy of an actor or a writer expressing himself artistically, and to see that joy be shared with theoretically millions of people in the viewing public, is very rewarding. So to that end, it's important to create an atmosphere for yourself that is relaxing, nurturing, and conducive to tapping your creative energies and letting ideas like character, story, setting, dialogue take flight. Downloading inspiration from the great creative space from beyond, from which all wonderful artistic inspiration comes, and filtered through our minds and our hearts and our culture and our social context of what we're creating. And then it gets expressed out through our voices and our bodies and our hands when we're drawing or designing something, or our hands when we're writing something. Identifying in my counseling and coaching sessions how and when you are at your best creatively can be an exercise that we use to identify, strengthen, and even defend your best skills as an artist. The next one is seeing what's being done and what's not. For writers, networks and production companies keep screaming for original material, even if they tend to actually purchase projects that appear familiar to the audience. Being able to see what's out there in terms of what's being sold, produced, aired, and what isn't, where the gaps are that could be filled with your original concepts and material, is an important professional skill to keep in your dossier as a writer, or in your repertoire of characters as an actor. Even noticing the different looks of models is important to see where trends are headed. It's about developing an awareness of what's out there, your creative contemporaries. Where is the state of the art of what you do? And what inspires you and what leads to creative inspiration for you that might be the next hit that everyone's talking about. The next one is having patience and the Zen attitude of letting go. I've observed that many of my creative professional clients have an almost obsessive compulsive pattern of their thinking and behavior. Current projects or short-term goals have a tendency to consume your consciousness, sometimes to unhealthy levels. It's an important skill to have some patience with yourself, with a writing partner, your colleagues, your friends, the bureaucracy of who you're selling to, like a network or a studio or a client. and to adopt a certain Zen attitude of letting go a little. This is probably when you do your best work. You get out of your own way, and the problems or blocks in your project get resolved. Learn the emotional control, what therapists call affect regulation skills in therapy, to be able to take a break, step back, and let the solutions flow from a deeper place within you. The use of mindfulness meditation can help with this. Opening your mind, saying what if. I think the biggest challenge most of my creative professional clients have is getting out of their own way and managing their own rather persistent anxiety or self-doubt. The business, the entertainment industry, they're not interested in your anxiety. They're interested in how your creative inspiration can make them and you money. It's a business, and they sell inspiration and creativity to people who want to consume it, people who badly want to consume it. They buy a ticket to your movie, or they turn on the channel to your movie on TV, or they program it in their DVR, or they go to a museum to see your work on the walls, or they don't even pay necessarily exactly to see, say, your design work as a website designer online, but they're still affected by it. And maybe that moves them to make a purchase from a well-designed website, for example. The next one is getting help from partners and friends. Another life skill for the mentally healthy, creative professional is knowing when to get help from others. There are many sources for this. You can have a writing partner, a scene partner as an actor, an acting coach, a vocal coach, a stylist, a partner or spouse for personal support, a sibling, even a therapist and coach too. But since freelance creative professionals can actually spend a lot of time alone during the week, reaching out to trusted others can be essential to keeping your sanity when you're feeling pressure about a project, often on some kind of a deadline or within some kind of parameters that you have to follow. As long as you can trust that person to maintain the essential confidentiality of your intellectual property. You don't want to forget kind of the somewhat cynical but, sad realities that you do have to watch out for undercutters, and you do have to do things to protect the confidentiality of your intellectual property. I have to do that a lot as a therapist. I have competing therapists who will mine my blog or my podcast topics and try to create things on their own because they just don't want to bother to come up with topics themselves. And sometimes I let it go, and sometimes I have to really assert my rights, because the stealing of intellectual property is something that my lawyer friends in LA have done a lot of, particularly in the film industry, because intellectual property has a monetary value in whatever field. Kind of like industrial espionage or industrial secrets, if you've ever signed a non-compete clause, for example, when you've had a job. The next one is empowering yourself in ways outside of work. The skill of empowering yourself outside of what you do for work is essential. Sure, your identity as a creative professional is perhaps the most significant role in your life, and for good reason. Millions of potential viewers of your work are counting on you to make a good project. That is a big responsibility. When I've worked with guys who write, globally distributed television shows or movies, their words are being heard by literally tens of millions or hundreds of millions of people across the world, and theoretically for decades. It's a big responsibility, but it's also an honor, and it's such an excitement that the product of your creative mind has that much impact on your fellow man. But that role, however important, is not the only important role that you have in your life. You could be someone's spouse or partner. You could be a parent to a child, or even to a cherished pet. You could hold a position of leadership or volunteerism in your local community. You are someone's child, someone's sibling, a niece or nephew, a neighbor and friend. And when you get stressed, remember that you are more than the current project that you're working on or trying to work on. You're even more than the creative professional that you earn a living, or at least part of a living, doing. You're a human being. This is what you were before your career, and that is what you will be long after your career has either diminished or is even over, when you're retired and you're just a person in your local community. And even if you leave behind a body of work that you're very proud of, it still comes down to being a person again. Keep the perspective that keeps you mentally and physically healthy by taking care of yourself in ways that aren't just who you are as a creative professional. The next one, similarly, self-care with diet, exercise, stress management, and sleep. So while your job as a creative professional depends on meeting the challenges in terms of creativity, skill, a discipline to meet deadlines, your effectiveness as a creative professional will be impaired if you don't practice the care and feeding that healthy creative people require. Paying attention to your diet. What are you eating? What are you putting in your body that gets digested and fuels not only what you're made of, but also how you function? Having an exercise regimen that you enjoy, keyword, having a strategy for managing stress, and getting enough high-quality sleep are all factors that help keep your audiences laughing, crying, or screaming due to your work. And it keeps audience patronage up over many projects over many years. There aren't any studies that I know of, but I bet there's a correlation to be found between creative professionals who take good care of themselves, the quality of their work, and the ultimate success of their projects. We all know of creative professionals who are heavily into alcohol or drugs, or really undermined themselves, and we wonder, would they still be as creative without all that? John Lennon and psychedelic drugs or something, or Hemingway and alcohol. We don't know. Hemingway used to say, "Write drunk, edit sober." And so, we know that there are plenty of creative professionals, rock stars and stuff, who have had some real take it to the limit types of edgy lifestyles, going willy-nilly with sleep or stress management or not getting exercise or eating crap on a tour bus. And they still are world famous and very, very wealthy and very, very respected. But sometimes it can catch up to them, and sometimes it can end a career because the person was not taken care of while the artist was doing his thing. And so that's another whole important component of all this, because most of us will do our best work when all the other systems of diet, exercise, stress management, and sleep, and social support are all intact. The next one is medical and dental care during downtime. I work with one gay male television writer who manages a couple of chronic health conditions, and he uses any hiatus period from his show to schedule various medical appointments, a dental exam for cleanings or procedures, maybe cosmetic procedures, all to do maintenance on himself when he's not nose to the grindstone week after week working on a television show with a very demanding schedule. Knowing how to take care of yourself during those times when you actually have time for self-maintenance is another important skill. And maybe this is somewhat seasonal. Maybe you schedule extra self-care when you have more downtime. Experiences to enrich your life beyond work and provide a creative inspiration. So this last one, it's important that you give yourself enough official downtime to support your unofficial work time, in the sense that you are seeing the world and living life in a way that feeds your unconscious mind, where your creativity comes from. Taking a walk, doing some traveling, putting yourself in new and unique situations, being adventurous, even having morning coffee with today's news can all feed your soul and your mind in a way that creates spontaneous inspiration for a new project. Sometimes, gleefully, when you least expect it, you just get a bolt of inspiration that says, what if? I like reading about the people who've created great things or just fun things, and how they were inspired. Sherwood Schwartz, the creator of Gilligan's Island, that fun sitcom in the 60s, which was kind of silly. But the story goes that Sherwood Schwartz looked at society, and he said, what if you took a cross-section of all these different aspects of society, the young goofy guy, or the wealthy person, or the movie star, or the little farm girl, and the academic. What if you just took a sample of all of society and put them on a desert island and see how they interacted? And then that was the inspiration. And I was listening recently to The Origin of the Golden Girls, gay male favorite, about a network wanted to reach an older demographic for advertising sales. And they kind of said, can you develop something for older people? And Susan Harris, the genius comedic writer, one of my favorite comedy writers in television of all time, kind of looked at that and said, yeah, I can do this. And then, the girls were born. And that was maybe in response to a commercial need or request to reach older audiences. And then ironically, it reached older audiences and very, very young people too. And of course was a huge hit. And, made all of them famous and all of them loved and also wealthy as older actresses. Older actresses are not necessarily known for being eminently employable in Hollywood, and yet at that time in the mid-'80s, that was a great opportunity for them, but then also a good message that older people, especially women over 50, can be vibrant, and that and the importance of friendship, and as Susan Harris said, also the importance of family who are not necessarily blood. Now, she didn't relate this to gay men, but I think it certainly could. Gay men often wrote the show. That's one other thing, is a lot of that humor was from kind of the campy talents of gay male writers, which I think is an important point about that show. But she also was really making the point about love makes a family, and that has to do with the family of choice that we experience as gay men that goes beyond biological kin. So approaching our world with a sense of awe and wonder and curiosity, amusement, and even questioning can all help you plug into that great creative space and breathe life into new projects that come to your mind. The life skills needed to be the mentally healthy creative professional have a lot in common with the skills needed to be mentally healthy in any vocation. But for entertainment professionals, the stakes are higher. The demands of creativity, collaboration, and deadlines are daunting, and certainly with politics. The biggest downside I've seen with creative professionals is not only the lack of work sometimes, or the competition, but the politics among and between creative professionals, or people that are so out to make money that it creates political dynamics of who likes who and who doesn't like who, and then it switches. The people who you hated last week are your best collaborator this week, and vice versa. And maybe this is different from the average person's work week, but the rewards are higher too. Creative professionals can sometimes, when they are successful, and it's a keyword when, because we have many who are, and I'm afraid more who are not, but the rewards can be extraordinary. You can be a millionaire from being a creative professional, especially in Hollywood or in television. Reaping the rewards while also keeping your sanity, that's a win-win situation for all. For you as the artist, for the people who are consuming and paying you for your work, and then also the audience who's somehow consuming your work. So for help in enhancing all of these life skills and strengthening whichever one is the weakest link in the life chain for you, consider having some counseling or coaching sessions. Our work can be a one-time consultation, it can be short-term, it can be ongoing, and it's customized to focus on the skills that you most want to enhance. This is for everybody all over the world, but when we work together as individuals, your individual questions are answered, and we get to have the luxury of focusing just on you, and seeing how these ideas apply to you as the individual. And I'm very happy to do that. So the way that you reach me is in the United States, area code 310-339-5778. That's 310-339-5778. You can visit my website where there's the blog article library going back many years, hundreds of articles. And email me, ken@gaytherapyla.com. And the website gaytherapyla.com is designed to kind of be Disneyland. You can explore all kinds of tabs and aspects of that. And at this point, after many years of creative output, it's got a lot of material there, but then it also gives you the opportunity of how to contact me directly if you want to do some work. So I hope you find that helpful, and thanks. I'll see you next time.